Hello, today we are going to talk a little bit about inflammation. We all have it, so it's not something to run from. It's really important to understand. The important things with inflammation, obviously, are not only that we all carry some level of it, but how we can reduce inflammation in our life. Most of us know that there are foods that are inflammatory. They may be foods that we react to personally, foods that we have either an allergy to or foods that don't work well within our system. But there are generally foods that are considered inflammatory by nature for all of us. So some of those things, especially those things, in the specific carbohydrates, especially simple carbohydrates, processed foods, also certain meats. Red meats can be very inflammatory for some people. And then even vegetables. I think I talked about this in another video that the nightshade family for some people can be extremely inflammatory. In fact, so inflammatory that with certain arthritic patients, I may have them come off of those nightshades, as well as things like the grain family. Okay, so there are inflammatory foods that kind of pertain to all of us. And then there are more specific inflammatory foods. Those are the things that we test when we're looking for food allergies. Okay, but foods are only one part of the inflammation in our life. And this is really about that piece, that change in mindset, right? That we have, that all of us think, okay, it's something I'm taking in, right? So the key though is that it's not simply the food, but the information. So what we allow in here can affect everything that happens down here. So I want to say that again, what we allow in here can affect everything down here. So the fact is that inflammation isn't simply just a piece of food that we're digesting, we're putting into our system that turns into an inflammatory response. Sometimes that food is in the way of information. Information being things like, news that doesn't sit well with us, or a friend who is always negative, and every time you go and see them, they kind of, you say, hey, how are you doing? And they kind of spin what's happening in their life in this dark, negative fashion. Now, I'm not saying that those people aren't useful and you need them out of your life. And many people will say that, cut those people out of your life. No, you just need to know how to take them in doses, just like foods. You may not ever want to cut out all nightshades, right? You may say, I really love my tomatoes. I really love my potatoes. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. The issue is we cannot consume them all the time. And just like that information, negative information, things that don't resonate with our level of vibration, those are things that we need to start to reduce in our mental and in our emotional diet. News is a big one, okay? Everybody out there should be aware of what's going on in the world. And I'm not asking anybody to cut themselves off from kind of modern day understanding of world function, but if we overconsume, if we take in news for hours at a time, we will start to develop inflammation, not just in our brain, but in our body. Okay? Not just in our brain, but in our body. Our body absorbs the negative and our body absorbs the positive information that comes through. Just like our body absorbs the alkalinity and the acidic aspects of our food. And we need to have both that acidic and alkaline. The problem is in our diet, we tend to do more acidic and less alkaline. In our environment, we tend to take in more negative than we do positive. And why is that? Why is it that negative information comes in more, our body retains it more, we utilize it, we metabolize it more, and then thus it affects us more? Well, it's a survival technique, and it's been with us for thousands and thousands of years. So, for instance, if we know, or if we knew, our ancestors knew that traveling along a certain path would set us up for being ambushed by other people or animals, or then our brain is going to remember that path is not the one we take. Now, we may remember that if we follow a different path, it gets us to an area where there's this or that, and that's important. But survival means that sometimes we take in, absorb, metabolize, utilize negative information preferentially over positive information. So we have to reverse that. We have to change our mindset. How do we do that? We start to work on changing things slowly. We start to look at things more positively. When we see that we're going down that negative path, or we're spending too much time with that friend who's negative, or we're watching TV shows that it's always about death, killing, kidnapping, whatever, we catch ourselves and we start to realize, ooh, this thing that I'm watching, that I'm doing, that I'm spending time with, it's not just about entertainment, or not just about being a friend, or it's not just about tasting something that tastes good. It's actually having an effect on my body. So inflammation, although we think about it solely from a standpoint of what we take in the body, maybe what's happening in our joints, maybe what's happening in our heart, remember, inflammation is more complex than that. What we take in includes that which we absorb through our digestive tract and also through our mental tract. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense, and I'll talk to you in the next one.